Rowan and Oliver already? Woo! you can try tossing. Sure. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you. All right. Shall we start singing? Let's start singing. Oh, welcome, welcome. Please rise in body or spirit and let us sing our opening hymn. It's called Coming Home. So welcome home.
Good morning. My name is Crystal Norman. My pronouns are she, her, and I am your worship associate on this beautiful Sunday morning. We welcome you into this sanctuary where we celebrate diversity and learn from one another, no matter our differences, in order to deepen our sacred connections and transform the world with love. We are so glad to have you with us today. If you are new here, please be sure to join us in the social hall after service for the potluck lunch so that we can get to know each other. Heather will provide some announcements.
Well, good morning. I'm Heather Norby. I'm the spiritual life director for this fantastic congregation, and I use the pronouns she and her. Just have a few announcements, a few things going on, ways for us to be together, to connect and transform the world. This Wednesday evening here in the sanctuary at 6:30 p.m., we will gather for popcorn theology, and we are watching the movie that Gail mentioned in her sermon a couple weeks ago. I don't remember what it's called. It's not in my notes, but it's in the newsletter. On Saturday is Valentine's Day, and Floyd is hosting a karaoke party. So you are welcome to come sing your favorite love songs on Valentine's Day. What time does that start? 6 p.m. here in the sanctuary. Don't forget, the Buildings and Grounds Workday is Saturday, February 28th from 8 to 1 p.m. There will be hedge trimming, painting, cleaning, and other important things that need to get done around here. So please join us for that. And our UUCL yard sale, which is a big fundraiser for us, is Saturday, March 21st. So start collecting your items now and bring them in the week before, and then consider volunteering to help us set up on Friday, and then to work on Saturday to, greet people and take their money. So I've been talking about the Interfaith Coalition picnic. That's supposed to be on next Sunday. However, I haven't really gotten any information. So I'm wondering if it's going to be rescheduled. I do have a faith leaders meeting this Tuesday, and so I will get information and somehow let you know if we're going to do it or not. So that's where I'm at with that. Nikki McCarty wrote a poetry book It's called Buried Before Winter. Nikki McCarty is a member here, by the way. And it's been published. It's on bookshop.org, so you can go. Yeah, I know. It's fantastic. You can go on bookshop.org, and you can buy it from our store so that we do get some of the proceeds. And then you'll have Nikki's fabulous book. I had mine delivered in a matter of like 3 days. It was great. She's agreed to do a book signing, so make sure you get a copy and we'll set up a book signing. And I believe that's all I've got for now. Illustrated also. Oh, how could I forget? It was illustrated by our very own Melissa McGowie, who is back there. It's beautiful. If you want to see it, I do have it in my bag, and I can bring it out during potluck and show it off. All right, well, check the back of your order of service and our e-newsletter that comes out on Mondays for more information. Thank you.
The flaming chalice is the symbol of this Unitarian Universalist faith. We light it each Sunday, as do UU churches around the world, to create sacred space, to connect us with one another, and to remember who we are as a people of faith, a people who persist with love, who resist the forces of violence, fear, and control, and who offer resilience through our theologies of interdependence. As we light our chalice today, let us recite together the declaration and the covenant we make to ensure that our shared Unitarian Universalist value of justice lights up the world. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions. Ken, would you light our chalice today, please? Thank you. Let us rise in body or spirit to sing in English and then in Spanish our hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. And now we have a message for all ages.
There we go. All right. Thank you, Rowan. Well, I have a question for you. I have a question for you. I have a question for you. Yeah. Do you have an imagination? Well, yeah. Of course. Callie, do you have an imagination? I don't believe you. Do you have an imagination? You do? Yeah. What do you use it for? You don't know? Perfect. That's perfect because today is all about using our imagination to make stories. Because here's the thing. When times are tough, it's really good to use our imaginations to think about how we can make the future better. Our imaginations keep us resilient and they give us hope. Fantasy stories. Oh, my favorite. Well, it's not weird. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you a picture, and you're going to help me come up with a story real quick. What do you think? Okay. All right. It's a cat lady. Can you come up with some kind of story about this cat lady? What kind of story can you tell? Something hopeful. Yes. She's a hybrid. Where did she come from? She came from a cat and a person. Interesting. How does that work? Scientists messing with her DNA. Maybe she's an alien. Well, what is she going to do? What is she going to do? She's gonna eat fish? Yeah. Can you come up with a story in a way that this cat lady would be helpful to you? Can she do your taxes? Shh, over there. What do you think? Maybe she comforts people because cats comfort people. I really love that answer. Yeah, yeah. You like that answer too? Yeah. Do you like cats? Yeah, yeah. You like cats? So if you saw a cat lady and you needed help, do you think she would be helpful? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think that you all could write a really good story together about a comforting cat lady. That's a beautiful doll. And maybe you can tell it to us sometime later. What do you think? Oh, yeah. That'll give you something when you're telling stories at night to help you go to sleep. That would be a good story. What do you think? I'll look forward to hearing it. You will think. Okay, well, hey, that's all I can ask for. Use your imagination. Do you want to say anything else about your imagination, Kelly? What is that you have? She's very into it. Well, it looks like somebody used their imagination to make that. Oh, and the doll. Do you play with the doll? Do you use your imagination when you're playing with your doll? Yeah, of course. Okay. You love dolls or dogs? Dogs. Dogs. Yes. Cool. Well, that's kind of all I wanted to talk to you about today because we're going to be using our imaginations in service, and I'm sure when you go outside, you're going to use your imaginations too. And then we'll all meet back up at potluck. Yeah. And it's so affirmative. And we will talk about what we imagined. How about that? Okay. All right. I'm ready for you to go on out. Yeah. Yeah. Have fun.
Here we gather, tucked back in this friendly neighborhood between the beautiful tall pines. We are a small church with big aspirations. We can achieve those aspirations if everyone gives of their time, talents, and treasures. Our shared Unitarian Universalist value of generosity calls us to be faithful UUs by covenanting with one another to freely and compassionately share our presence and resources. This is the time in our worship service when we are given the opportunity to share. The ushers will now pass the plates.
And thank you all for your generous blessings. Visionary fiction is a term developed by Walida Emerisha and Adrienne Marie Brown. They are writers, organizers, and scholars in today's social justice movements. The term visionary fiction distinguishes it as a kind of science fiction that has relevance toward building new, freer worlds different from the mainstream strain of science fiction, which most often reinforces dominant narratives of power. Visionary fiction, according to Emerisha and Brown, encompasses all of the fantastic, with the arc always bending toward justice. Once the imagination is unshackled, liberation is limitless. It is in this vein that I wrote the story we are presenting to you today. In 2021, while I was attending Meadville Lombard Theological School, I took a course called Community Organizing and Ethical Leadership. In that course, we discovered many of the underlying concepts, structures, and strategies for maintaining resilient communities and achieving successful social change. This story was my final assignment and a culmination of my learning. It is a piece which attempts to incorporate my own personal theology about the divine nature of evolution and change, our power to shape that change, and our interrelatedness to all life. It is a story that embodies resilience. And I decided that now was a good time to resurrect this story after I listened to the Canadian Prime Minister's speech at this year's World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. In that speech, he said, "Today I will talk about a rupture in the world order, the end of a pleasant fiction and the beginning of a harsh reality. I would like to tell you that other countries, like Canada, are not powerless. They have the capacity to build a new order that encompasses our values, such as respect for human rights, sustainable development, solidarity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of the various states. It means building what we claim to believe in, rather than waiting for the old order to be restored." Mark Carney is using his imagination and his intellect, to be sure, to bring people together and to imagine a new world with him. He invites others into this imagining when he stated, collective investments in resilience are cheaper than everyone building their own fortresses. The question is whether we adapt by simply building higher walls or whether we can do something more ambitious. So I invite you now to center yourselves in an ambitious imagination, one that is ready to shed the grim reality we are living in and to awaken to our interdependence so that we may create new ways of living. We will begin this by grounding ourselves in a new hymn. It's one of the hymns in our virtual hymn book. And it's composed by the spirited songwriter Alex Pham, and it's called Planted. And so hopefully it will help to take you deeper into your earthly connections. In the darkness, I was planted in the darkness. I was planted in the darkness. I was planted in the darkness. I was the dark. It brings me life. I feel the dark. It brings me life. I can grow in the darkness. 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 I feel the dark. It brings me life. I feel the dark. It brings me life. Okay. So use your imagination to listen to what the Spirit or the spirits of Gaia are telling you. And feel her spirit support yours as you reach towards justice.
Imaginations engaged. Let us step into the story. The time is the future. How distant the future? Probably not outside the lifetimes of our children. In this future, Mother Earth has decided that the only way to support the existence of the life that has evolved on the surface of her giant spherical body is to bring us massive cross-continental tectonic change.
Our human ancestors were closely connected to our Mother Earth. Their listening frequencies were so attuned with her that they could still hear the spirits from which life arose, the earth spirits. The earth spirits were spawned from the co-creation of the very beginnings of matter. They were many and diverse, composed of all the elements of the earth, of fire, of air, and water too. The ancestors possessed an intrinsic sense that they were co-creating with the inspirited land, for whatever was done upon it by them was reflected in her fertility or stubbornness to give way to nourishing crops and gifts of living. This miracle gave joy and meaning to humans for millennia. Ancestral wisdom operated around an understanding that earth spirits nested in particular places, and that their land was too sacred to alter for human needs. The ancestors knew that to sustain the sacred patterns and cycles of the universe, the earth's spirits should be honored.
But after many eons, through the gifts of free will, choice, and expanded creativity, humans started paying attention only to themselves, and they forgot how to listen to the earth spirits. Ancient wisdom was forgotten. Human ego became uncontrollable, and they colonized all the land. The earth spirits, shackled by this obscenity, were no longer free to continue their sacred cycles and patterns. Retreat into the belly of their Mother Earth was the only option for these life-sustaining spirits. Depleted and forlorn, they returned to their mother, who took them back into her womb to heal and nourish the spirits, becoming pregnant with them once again.
But a mother can only gestate for so long before she breaks open and begins the holy process of birth. Birth is a beautiful new beginning, ripe with possibilities. But birth can also be chaotic and messy. This birth would be especially so. The atrocities of the human species, the submerged nuclear weapons in her waters, the cutting down of her oxygen sources, the melting of her sacred balancing ice caps, the raping of her voluptuous terrain, magnified the chaos of this birth. Gaia, our holy Mother Earth, full of grace, just wanted to give the life that dwelt upon her a second chance. And so it was, as Gaia, our Mother Earth, gave birth to a new beginning, the land broke apart. Volcanoes and quakes all around the earth began to rumble. Gaia was going into labor. Her water was breaking, her birthing canals were dilating. The earth spirits were to be born again. As the continents split and moved, pushing water out of the way, creating new land masses, and releasing the fiery magma of her insides. A dramatic new birth, one which wasn't predicted for many millions of years yet, was happening in the time that Mother Earth decided it should happen. Some life would survive, some would return to the mix of possibilities and potentialities of Gaia's matter to be recreated.
Mother Earth's groaning and moaning frightened the humans. Panic manifested in the many ways it does. Some people, disconnected from the earth spirits, killed one another. These so-called warriors could only focus on winning, as if death to all others would ensure their survival. They failed to see that this breaking apart of the earth was actually life rushing back in. They found their identity only in the elimination of what was unfamiliar to them. Other people huddled together, too frozen from fear to leave what they already knew. Cooperation with one another was their only hope for living through this tumultuous birth. Together, they would have to learn how to open up their minds to new possibilities. And then there were some who fled and sought shelter in regions that appeared to be stable. For these people, isolation turned into a spiritual awakening as they had to learn how to live with the earth again. These were also the places where the born-again earth spirits returned. Wild spaces would come to life again as humans and rejuvenated earth spirits renewed their co-creative processes and healing began.
My story imagines a way for transformative justice to enter the world. Transformative justice is an imagined system of justice that moves away from our current systems of punitive justice. The aim of transformative justice is to end the cycles of harm and abuse. Transformative justice humanizes those that have been dehumanized and adds depth to what it means to be a complex human. Adrienne Marie Brown teaches us that transformative justice is about transforming the conditions that make injustice possible. In this sense, I use the metaphor of Mother Earth giving birth as a form of transformative justice, which doesn't destroy or desacralize humanity, but rather changes the conditions that humans have to work with so they can rediscover their sacredness once again. Crystal, would you please light our healing candle for us today? Spirit of life and love, let us embody resilience together as we imagine a future in which transformative justice takes place. As we seek to get ICE out of our communities, to tear down elite systems of sexual violence, and to end wars and genocides, may we find opportunities to practice mutual care and respect for every person, planting the seeds of a new system of justice that can heal our world.
The story continues with the introduction of the main character, Ren. As we enter back into the story, we find Ren relearning and reconnecting with the wisdom of natural forces. Before the breaking apart, Ren was a leader and an organizer, and she understood the necessity of connecting with the land we live on if we ever want to reach healing and liberation for all.
Rin sat by her small fire in the center of a ring of pine trees. The night was warm enough, but Rin needed the comforting presence of the fire spirits. Rin listened carefully to the fire's crackling, sensing the message the spirits were sending through its release of energy. All the elemental earth spirits were strong once again after a full cycle around the sun, all 4 seasons having been able to bring back life-sustaining processes. Ren and the earth spirits found one another as they healed together after the great breaking apart.
Ren remembers.
Ren didn't hear the spirits clearly at first, although they were there to cradle her as soon as she arrived to the cave. Ren was distraught, wrecked, nearly lifeless, when she slipped on the algae-covered rock under her feet and landed at the entrance of what was to become her new home, a cave with impenetrable darkness, persistent dampness, yet offering the comfort of an embrace after miles of loss and loneliness. Ren had indeed run for miles inland away from the rising water, after watching that water rise up from the once serene beach to drown the only partner she ever loved, Bree. Resting in the cave, Ren felt safe. Sleep came and dreams sang, hints from the earth spirits communicating to Ren that she was not alone, as it might have seemed. After some time, Ren was awakened by a sudden silence.
The moaning and groaning of Mother Earth's labor had ceased. The sounds of a land awakening and spirited once again began to tickle Ren's ears. Inside of her body, Ren felt her soul begin to question and to feed her fuzzy brain with enough curious energy that she could lift herself up off the damp, mossy floor of the protective cave. Rin crawled towards the light with an increasingly growing sense of wonder. Like a small child, she felt naive as she approached a world outside of the cave which she might not know anything about, but more curious to Rin. Or was it more unsettling? Was the question of, who am I now in this new and transformed world?
As community organizer and strategist Charlene Carruthers wrote, "It takes time to digest the reality of the world we live in and make sense of how we are situated in the broader human experience. But to do so is essential for our social justice work. Our ritual of the sharing of joys and sorrows is a prayerful time in which we might ask ourselves, who am I now in this world? Contemplating our personal joys and sorrows can help us discern what matters most to us and how we should move in the world outside of our sanctuary. Knowing who we are and what values are central to our lives guides us towards the work we need to do in the world." When you came in, hopefully, you took some stones from our Joys and Sorrows stones at the front of the sanctuary, or the back of the sanctuary. And as you hold those stones you collected when you entered, I hope that you can take a moment to reflect on what is most important in your life so you can know exactly who you are in this world now. In our Joys and Sorrows book, you're able to write anything that you want for me to read out loud and let the congregation know is going on. Okay. So today, from Jamie. She writes, "Last night I received a text message from a person I had class with in college who wanted to let me know what an inspiration I've been in their lives." Excellent. Coming out and standing in their queer identity. They wished me queer joy, which is what I wish for all of you today. As Mother Earth breathes slowly and grows under our feet, she cradles us and whispers, "Spring is near." We're like, in tune. This is a joy from Harper and Melissa. We've almost completely finished our move. After packing and unpacking over the past several weeks, we are almost done. We are very excited for this next chapter. It feels like a wonderful glimmer during these tumultuous times. We cannot wait to make new and joyful memories in our new home. Wonderful. Best to you. There's so much work. And Nancy and Tom say, "We so enjoyed the auction item we won, which was last night's Peruvian-themed dinner at Dorothy and Ken's. Wonderful meal and a great time with others. Thank you, Dorothy and Ken." Thank you, Dorothy and Ken. It is indeed so good to be together. That is a joy, and I think that is a joy that many of us have, and that really speaks to the work that we should be doing in the world. So I will invite you now to come forward for our ritual of joys and sorrows, placing your stones in our bowls of water. We have bowls here and bowls here.
I am that great and fiery force, sparkling in everything that lives, in shining of the river's course, in greening grass that
Good morning to everybody watching our streaming services. Crystal put stones in for you as well. Let us say our little prayer together. You are not alone. We are holding it together. Back to our story. Before the great breaking apart of Mother Earth, Wren was a teacher, but she often hesitated to speak up in the face of injustice for fear of disrupting relationships. She often found herself in the middle of disagreements, the go-between trying to mediate peace. And that process did nothing but overshadow who she really was and what she really cared about, dismantling oppressive systems and affirming the inherent worthiness of every person. So in this new world, she needed to start over, to begin again to understand how to frame her work with renewed purpose, to ask, who am I? Wren wanted a better world for herself, of course, but she also hoped to inspire others to be good ancestors for future generations. Wren knew that shaping change was divine. She just needed to find the courage to do it. Wren wanted to find a place in the world where she could open people up to this divine power.
But where were her people now? Did they know how to survive the breaking apart? Who would Wren be without other people? Wren felt grief weighing heavily in her chest, pushing down the sense of wonder she had just previously felt upon waking up. Could she trust herself in this new, unknown world? The light was strong outside the cave, as if it possessed a magnetic force. It seemed radiant and alive, as if the spirits of Wren's ancestors were smiling upon her, begging her to come out of the darkness. Slowly, she tiptoed into the newness of the world. A gentle breeze touched Wren's cheek, reassuring her like a mother's touch. She lifted her gaze towards a strangely silent and new world, scanning the landscape for what might still be familiar. Trees, oaks and maples, pines and birch, still there, but many had fallen. Wren heard some rustling in the leaves, glad to know that other life had survived as well. Yet she couldn't see whether it might be birds or squirrels or perhaps rabbits and chipmunks, bears, wolves, deer, something she's never encountered before. Wren wondered. She was curious, but not without fear. There would be much to explore, but even more nagging, she needed to learn how to satiate her hunger.
6 months later,
There was a biting chill in the air that night. Wren had spent the day collecting dry logs from downed trees that didn't survive the breaking apart. Those downed trees were a gift from the mother, for not only did they provide wood for Wren's fires, but on them grew what had become Wren's favorite food, morels. She planned to cook up some of the morels she had dried at summer's end over this winter night's fire. Wren had also been saving up a bottle of sherry, scavenged from an abandoned house about a half-mile down the ridge. It would add moisture and flavor to the morels, and a few sips would no doubt help to keep her warm throughout the night. It also might help settle the anxiety she was feeling from something peculiar at that house.
Wren had been looking in the mirror. She thought that perhaps a mirror would be a good tool for self-reflection and healing. But strangely, the mirrors in the house were gone. Not just fallen and broken, there were no pieces, gone, ripped from the walls. How strange, she thought, an unsettling feeling set in. How had some other intelligent being been there? Were others looking for mirrors? Luckily, however, the house Wren scavenged from did provide her with the comfort of blankets, among them a beautifully hand-sewn quilt made from old clothing. Wren treasured it. She wrapped it around her cold body, and how love wrapped itself around her when she was surrounded by old friends and family. It felt so comforting. The quilt somehow filled in the lonely gap that she carried with her day after day. It lightly filled the heartache that existed from Bree's absence. And she sat at the fire this lonely winter night, wrapped herself up in the quilt, and ate her mushrooms, knowing that love was still her guide and her compass.
Wren took the dried morels out of her sack. Handling each one with care, she remembered how quickly they grew. What a delightful surprise that was. When Wren first found the morel colony growing on a downed log by the stream, she was starving. She harvested every last one and had taken them back home, built a fire, and ate the entire crop. And then guilt set in. What would she eat tomorrow? Wren felt as though she had not only cheated herself, but violated the spirit of the morels by taking them all. Would they continue to grow?
To Wren's surprise, Gaia was forgiving and generous with the morels. I say morel, you say morel. Okay. All right, they're mushrooms.
I forgot to ask.
When Wren had returned to the log 6 days later, an entire new colony had sprung up, ready for harvesting. This time, Wren was more deliberate when harvesting them, selecting only the bigger ones. She returned each day to pay attention to how the remaining ones changed. She learned who the morels were and what they needed. Wren experimented with some to see if she could encourage growth in different places and different ways. She listened closely, and with the assistance of the now familiar earth spirits, Wren heard the needs of these precious morels. It was a process of experimenting and a willingness to make mistakes. It was a process of paying attention to growth, of gaining an intimate knowledge so that Wren could best care for the morels and for herself. It was pure joy. The morels gave life back to Wren. Wren had come to know herself again. She found that the core of who she was hadn't changed despite the grandiose shifting of the earth. Love still remained. Her vision of a healed and free world for all was expanding. This came from paying attention to Mother Earth's life-sustaining processes. Wren learned how to nurture and create life. After the dried morels and sherry, Wren retreated back into what had become her safe space, the dark cave. Wrapped in the quilt, she laid down. Alone in the darkness, Wren dreamt about the seeds that the earth spirits had been planting for her to discover come spring. Let us sing once again, Planted. Planted. Yes, planted. We'll get the...
I was planted in the darkness. 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 I feel the dark. It brings me life. I feel
Spring arrived with vigor as the healing earth became stronger. Wren sat by the crackling fire, listening. The fire spirits knew Wren was ready. Wren knew she was ready. After a year of cultivating relationships with Mother Earth's bounty, of healing her own soul, of knowing her own mind and heart, even more than before, the breaking apart, Wren was ready to search for other conscious life. Would it be human? What kind of human would it be? Would she rediscover those she had known before? The fire spirits were ready to answer her questions. Wren closed her eyes and centered herself in possibility, opening up to whatever the new truth might be, opening up to the divine change. Wren listened to the voices of the fire spirits speak. This is the message they conveyed.
The outcome of the breaking apart is that the countries have drifted closer to one another and are on the verge of reconnecting fully. Millions have survived, but cities have collapsed. The city people are organizing themselves, awakening to a new way of survival. Cooperation is necessary to that survival, and now that the continents have shifted, people are meeting different people. People are sharing stories and traditions and learning from one another new possibilities of thriving together. Life's fragility and life's wonders have been revealed in this birth. And the fact that it was a birth and not a punishment is being realized as people begin to uncover love for one another. Creative organizers and leaders emerging. In fact, these are the people who would initially run to find safe harbors within the earth, much like you, Wren. They are returning to their home cities healed, and with a strong calling to impart the knowledge that they have gathered from the earth spirits. Their healing knowledge is reminding the people that life is all about relationships and mutual care. Many leaders are teaching how to grow food. Others are teaching tool making, art, and some are spiritual leaders and healers. Once you return, Wren, find these organizers, and you will know what you are supposed to do. But not all is so glorious, as not all is conscious life will ever have the ability to untie itself from fear and greed. The fighters, although diminished greatly in number, have called a truce now that the moaning and groaning of the Great Mother has ceased, and they have banded together. There is one man in particular who declares himself a leader, for he has access and power to something the others do not. A laboratory that holds the secrets for how he can play God. Before the breaking apart, scientists were already experimenting and implanting other species with human DNA. Their experiments have gone farther than was publicly approved or even known, funded largely by this newly declared leader. Although his money means nothing now after the Earth Mother's generous birth, a gift that he perceives as punishment, he has found power in holding the keys to playing God, or at least his version of God, a wrathful God. Be cautious, Wren.
This is where the fire spirits stopped their transmission to Wren. She knew who she was to be in this new world, a teacher of interdependence, a cultivator of relationships, a resilient leader who would sustain justice and gather the people together so that tyrants would never reign again. But a new species, an animal with human DNA, what could become of this? Wren knew that she would find out in time once she connected and paid close attention.
Upon waking the next morning to a brilliant birdsong, Wren was ready to find the cooperative people. She gathered the rest of her dried morels, as they would serve as a bridge to sharing with the new people she would find. Wren's plan was to teach how she got to understand the morels, how they grew, what they loved, and how they nourished life. Wren wanted to collect the visions of many people and bring them to the other organizers like herself so they may paint a picture of a future that included all sacred beings. And Wren knew that this shared net of power would provide a force that could shape and co-create change more than any self-made, small-minded God could ever imagine.
3 months later,
with intense curiosity, tempered by caution, Wren approached an encampment on the banks of the river. She paused when she realized that this was the river that used to lead to the beach where Bree was brought back into the mix of matter to be recreated. The shelters in this new encampment were constructed from the remains of buildings that towered over the houses in the city before the breaking apart. They were a creative mix of materials with textures, colors, and shapes that dazzled and reflected the unique personalities that occupied them. A person started walking towards Wren and reached out their hand.
"Hi, I'm Mick. Welcome to Riverside."
Hi, Mick. I'm Wren from the Earth Spirit Circle. I'm collecting stories about building community after the breaking apart. This is a great encampment you've built here. I'd love to sit and learn more about it. Do you have some time?
"You bet," Mick replied eagerly.
And let us sing. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all our voices and all our visions, friends, we can make such sweet harmony.
2 years later,
Mick was brewing the ritual tea at his seat by the fire. Wren was rehydrating the morels with some sherry. The offerings were passed around. People told the story of their resilience, how they came back, found one another, and rebuilt community. Every time it was told, new voices were added, and the story of who they were and who they were becoming was growing more beautiful. The people saw in themselves courage and curiosity and a deep sense of joy in sharing the truth. This was the ritual that the Riverside community, joined by several neighboring communities, told before they contemplated how to move forward.
Tonight's ritual would be unusual and perhaps difficult. For around tonight's fire sat someone new, someone almost human, someone with overwhelming feline characteristics. But Wren was listening and paying attention, and she detected a radiance around this new person that felt much like the earth spirits that had held her safely in the cave.
I am here to share the secret to humility, the curious being stated. This new feline human reached into her bag and took out a small mirror. The end. For now.
The future is so mysterious. What will happen next? It's up to you. I appreciate you playing along with me and imagining today. I hope that spiritual play and imagination is something that we can do together as we move into the future. We need imagination in these times. And so, thank you. The old stories, the ones that have been steering our cultures of domination and cruelty, those old stories are being burned in the fires that we gather around. But we can't just burn the old stories. We have to create new stories, stories of justice and cultural transformation, stories of resilience that we can embody together. We have to story ourselves into a new humanity.
Again from Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. We know the old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy, but we believe that from the fracture, we can build something bigger, better, stronger, more just. This is the task of the middle powers, the countries that have the most to lose from a world of fortresses and most to gain from genuine cooperation. The powerful have their power, but we have something too. The capacity to stop pretending, to name reality, to build our strength at home, and to act together. Our closing hymn is Part of the Whole, composed by Lee Morris. This concludes our service today. Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world. Please join us for potluck.